Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas, everyone! Today we're going to unwrap some presents in the form of perks from my favorite zombie game, Black Ops 4. There's going to be some criteria for how the perks will be ranked, as there are three types of perks in BO4. Normal perks, modifier perks, and bonus perks. Typically on most maps, the player can do a side quest to get a free perk, and sometimes even more. There is of course the three regular perks players can choose in the class selection, and the fourth modifier perk, which grants additional abilities for each perk placed here. We will be taking into account how good a perk is in all of these categories to see which is the worst and which is the best. I have always hated Mule Kick. There never really was a situation in any game that needing 3 guns was necessary, especially not here in Black Ops 4, where you can't even hold more than one wonder weapon at a time, so it's extra useless. In the normal slot, it's an expensive waste because having to juggle between 3 guns is never something the player would want to do. In the modifier, it grants the player the ability to regain the Mule Kick weapon if the perk is lost and then rebought it. When a modifier is only useful if the player goes down and loses the perk, that's not a very good ability. Where Mule Kick really falls to the bottom though is when it's gotten as a bonus perk. Out of all of the perks in this game to get as a bonus or free perk, there is nothing more depressing than getting Mule Kick. It just leads you to buying a third gun you may need for something and then having to spend 5,000 more points at the Pack-a-Punch to get rid of your third gun that you don't want. Mule Kick is too expensive and a waste of a perk slot which could be given to much more important perks. And even as a bonus, it's the absolute worst. Blaze Phase is a perk with such a unique but unfortunately niche use. The good about the perk is the dash it performs does do infinite damage to zombies. The problem is that it simply takes far too long to recharge to be useful. As a normal perk, it's a complete waste of a slot. The ability in no way justifies taking up an entire slot in your class. The modifier may sound useful, but is very lacking and poorly executed. If it reduced the dash charge up time, then maybe it would be worth it. As a bonus perk, it's entirely fine, as the ability to dash forward and kill a horde of zombies every minute or two is alright. Blaze Phase should have 100% been given a buff, because as it stands, it's a cool idea, but an underbaked concept. Death Perception is not a bad perk. Its ability works and can be helpful to see zombies through walls as well as indicators when they're behind you. The only problem is that there are just so many better and more useful perks in the game that you wouldn't waste a slot on it. And definitely not on the modifier, which claims to do more damage to special enemy weak points, but honestly, I don't feel the difference. However, as a bonus perk, it could be a nice addition to have some eyes in the back of your head or to get a glimpse of zombies spawning ahead of you. Deadshot is really only useful on one map and with one weapon. Besides the Wunderwaffe sniper on tag, Deadshot is pretty pointless to have as a normal perk. Zombies don't really take that much effort to aim for their head, unless you're running snipers only. The modifier is okay enough, providing additional damage when a headshot streak is maintained. The problem is zombies react to your shots in BO4, and you'll often kill them by hitting their shoulders. So you'll lose your headshot streak by not any fault of your own, and an inconsistent modifier isn't one worth having. As a bonus perk, it's fine. No one would really be bummed out with some free headshots. Deadshot in this game is far better than in previous, but not necessarily a great perk. Luna is a good dog and does her job well enough. That is, spawn in, kill any zombies near you, and disappear when she runs out. The recharge time is a bit high, but her frequency of attacks, as well as the fact that she does infinite damage to normal zombies and massive damage to bosses, makes her a decent enough perk to have in the normal slot. She does much better as the modifier though, giving the player specialist refills and ammo drops, which on Ancient Evil can be a massive help with the gauntlets. Her recharge time can lead the player into feeling that the perk may be a little bit of a waste when Luna's not around, and as a bonus perk, having her show up frequently to help kill zombies is always welcome. Bloodwolf Bite is situational, but does its job well enough when needed. Now, Razor is one of my favorite perks, not just in the game, but ever. So why is it so low? Well, as a normal perk, it gives more melee damage and heals the player with a swipe and stabs. Stabs provide a full bar of health back, which is very good and encouraging melee-focused combat, which I love. Where this perk shines, however, is in the modifier slot, where it makes the stab an instant kill on any round. This is not only good at killing zombies in your way, but making a lot of points. This perk normally, or as a bonus perk, is a complete waste, but as a modifier perk, it is top tier. It being so mixed is why I have to put this lower than most, because you need to put it in the modifier to make it usable. Electric Burst, aka Cherry, is the best in this game that it's ever been. The electric burst provided is quite large, and the less and less ammo in the clip will do actual damage to the zombies and will even kill on decently high rounds. As a normal perk, it's good and can help save the player by giving them a second chance to save themselves if they're in a corner. As a modifier, it's a bit situational, but having an infinite damage melee is never a bad thing, and it just encourages the player to reload often to charge the ability. When Burst is a bonus perk, it's just another way for the player to help save themselves if they get trapped. So it's always decent in whichever slot it's in. There are just better perks out there. Secret Sauce is the Wonder Fizz of perks, and it honestly saves this game's perk system as well as makes all the bad perks better, being as you can change the perks anytime you want. As a normal slot, it's great, and modifier, it's fantastic to change up your strategy mid-game. No other game has this kind of system or freedom with your perks. I have Secret Sauce on almost every single class in the game. There is nothing more useful than swapping out your perks for whichever situation you're in. Stone Cold is a perk that benefits one playstyle: camping. Giving you additional hits for staying in one place can be very helpful if you're doing something in close proximity or holding down a doorway. As a regular perk, it's fine enough, as well as a bonus, but as a modifier, it's a whole different story. When in the modifier slot, the perk rapidly regains armor when killing zombies inside the circle. This is a camper's golden ticket when paired up with proper weapons, and makes the perk extremely useful on high rounds. Bandolier might just be the simplest perk of all time. It just gives you more ammo in reserve. But you wouldn't believe how useful that is, because that's for wonder weapons too, and it's a decent percentage of ammo. As a normal perk, it's great and amazing when a bonus perk. It's just when it's a modifier that it becomes a complete waste. The modifier is so weak, you might not ever use it. It will reload your gun if you have it in your pocket, which as you gain the Speed Cola ability when you get the modifier, this is extra useless. Unless you're running 2 LMGs for whatever reason, this modifier is a complete waste of a slot, and you'll be doing yourself a disservice by putting the perk in it. Zombshell is a unique but very useful perk. Every time it recharges, it can spawn a ball of energy that slows zombies and makes them more susceptible to damage while in it. The recharge for this is quite fast too, so it's very helpful on tighter maps and areas. As a normal perk, it's great as well as when it's a bonus perk. When it's a modifier, it becomes amazing, as the player becomes invisible to the zombies while standing in the energy field. The best part is that if another player has this perk too, and you have yours in the modifier, you can take advantage of their Zombshell and hide in their energy ball when it activates, even if they don't have their perk in the modifier slot. Zombshell is a fantastic perk, and I would love to see it make a return someday. Hey, if Death Perception can make a comeback, why not this one? A perk that doesn't sound too useful until you use it. It has so many functions, speeds up almost everything. Mystery box, pack-a-punch, grenade recharges, and most importantly, lowers time recharging traps. It's also the cheapest perk in the game, so having it as a normal perk is perfect. The modifier makes the specialist recharge much faster as well, which is a very big help on higher rounds. Plus, getting this perk as a bonus is a massive quality of life improvement that you'll miss once you don't have it. Stamina Up is a perk that's useful overall in any situation, but because of BO4's later round mechanics, it becomes essential. As a normal perk as well as a bonus, it can simply help the player get around faster, which is never a bad thing. But on the modifier, the perk always maintains max speed, so when the high round super sprinters show up, if you're training, Stamina Up in the modifier becomes necessary. This perk's effect is really helped by Secret Sauce in the modifier, allowing the player to use any perk they want, then change to Stamina Up on higher rounds. Quick Revive in this game is a massive upgrade from previous versions, where it nearly becomes a mandatory perk. Because in BO4, it not only makes you revive faster, but also increases your health regen and regeneration time. As a normal perk, most players will always have it on, and if you manage to get it as a bonus perk, consider yourself very lucky. As a modifier, it's quite good, giving a Stamina Up-like boost when your health regens, as well as when a teammate is revived, they also gain a massive speed boost. Quick Revive is a great perk that balances well on not being too OP like it does in Cold War. Due to the massive importance placed on the shield in this game, Tortoise is a perk that is always helpful. Giving the shield a massive explosion when destroyed, stunning and knocking down zombies, giving the player a chance to escape, but also allowing the player to have 360-degree protection from damage when holding the shield in hand. As a normal perk, it's a must-have, and as a bonus perk, it makes the whole game a lot easier. However, the modifier is quite possibly one of the worst in the game. All it does is knock bigger enemies, like bosses, to the ground. Doesn't give the shield more durability, just stuns the bosses. This is a perk you would never waste a modifier slot on. PhD is good in any game it's in, and here it's amazing, but not always needed. If you're running explosives at all, having no self-damage as well as reducing the explosive damage of some enemies is an absolute must. As a normal perk, it's fantastic, and as a bonus, it just opens up the gameplay possibilities to more weapon types you couldn't use before. As a modifier, it's sort of half and half. Having a longer slide is kind of useful, as well as taking no damage from traps when sliding through them. It's a decent ability that works well enough, but it's quite situational. Winter's Wail is the buffed version of Widow's Wine. Plain and simple. In the normal slot, it's alright, and when you have it as a bonus, it's a great buffer to help protect the player. It's the modifier, however, where this perk becomes incredible. In addition to another charge, when hit, a massive slowing field is placed on the player and slows all zombies caught in it, really helping the player to not get hit again. This perk is the best modifier in the game, and there isn't one situation where it doesn't come in handy. There was never any doubt what the best perk would be. It's not just the best perk in BO4, it's quite possibly the best perk in all of Zombies history. Simply, when you take your last hit of health, you don't go down. It's simply a lifesaver of all those mistakes you wish you never made. As a normal perk, it's on every class. No player who knows how this game works wouldn't have this on at all times. That's why it's so rare to get it as a bonus perk, because you'll always have it equipped on your class. Which I guess is fitting that the most useful and powerful perk in the game has the worst modifier. All it does is when the invincibility ends, brings your health back to full. Which is completely useless, as your health already begins regenerating the second the ability ends. And if you still find yourself trapped where the game gives you invincibility and a one-hit knife to save yourself, perhaps you deserve to go down.